recording. So I'm in a really interesting location. So directly below me is the baby's room here. So I have doing this thing from a closet, and we're gonna make this thing work, man. Everybody's asleep. It's 3 o'clock here, 3 a.m. But I'm really excited to be with the group today. And it is the last day of what I think has been a really, really cool series. Have you guys enjoyed it? Put a one in the chat or the comments if you guys have enjoyed this. How many of you guys have had a better month this year? I mean, a better month this month than you have since you have been coaching. Put a two in the chat. And today I was up thinking last night, what can I share with this group? I mean, because we've talked about so much, we've discovered so much about ourselves, we've done so much. What could I actually share? Good morning, Carl. And I took some notes, but I honestly don't know how today's going to go, but I know I'm really excited for today. So do me a favor, get out a pen and paper. Let's get ready to sort of settle into this thing and just have a really, really amazing morning and really kind of kick this thing off. So I'm excited to see all of you guys. Last week, I think, first and foremost, I'm so impressed by the group that came on and led us all last week, and I want to give those guys a round of applause. We had some of the finest trainers, I believe, in all of Optavia that just rocked it out from starting from a week ago today all the way through Friday. We even threw Kevin in there on Friday, and he was nervous, but I think he did a really, really good job. And that's just part of it. I have a lot of notes here, and one of my notes, and I'll just kind of go through my notes, but whether you knew it or not, this is not a weight loss company. And I think a big part of that is learning how we train and develop people into becoming leaders. And so, that's just part of the process. Same thing happened with me. I remember when I was a brand new coach, my gosh, I've been putting up all these posts on my own social media. And a lot of these posts have been of me remembering when I first started as a coach and how much work I needed just as a human being. And I still need, I mean, it's never ending process. But part of it, I remember, one of my business coaches, Kim Fisk. How many of you guys know Kim Fisk? How many of you guys have her book? Has that book helped you? Monster Under the Bed. So much that's come out of that book is what she was training me with 7 years ago. And I remember one day she was going to do this really big kind of like coach training, sort of like the Rise Up Summit we had. I don't know how many of you guys came out to Rise Up in April earlier this year, but it was a lot like that. And she asked me to do a training on social media and on Instagram, because back then I was bringing on a lot of clients and coaches utilizing Instagram. I still do. It's just that I don't target it as much. But so I'm a brand new coach, and she says, we have this really big training coming up. I want to teach these things, some of the outside of the box type things. Can you do a training on Instagram? I was like, man, I don't want to. I'm still so new. Like, I'm looking at you guys. I want to learn from you. I don't know what you can learn from me. And she said, just put together a nice little PowerPoint presentation and just teach us. I was like, man, I've never put together a PowerPoint presentation. And so she was stretching me and she was forcing me to grow. And I was going to be in front of a crowd of about maybe 300-400 people. I ain't never really been on stage before. I was nervous. And it took me probably 4 days to put this presentation together. I was just working on, well, I get to Salt Lake City, of course, as these things tend to do. We ran over in time. So she comes to me and she says, we're not going to be able to get to that social media part. And I'm thinking, oh, I just spent 4 days putting this thing together, man. But you know what? After I put it together, do you think I knew what I was talking about a little bit more? Do you think it forced me to get better with my skill set? And the way you really get to know something is you teach it. So anytime you guys get a chance to train, anytime you get a chance to lead, don't be like I was, kicking and screaming. Literally dive in head first, because that's where you really get to learn. That's where you really get to learn the leadership qualities, the principle. You really get to learn the material. This is why it's so important for you to become a coach right now, because most of us are still jacked up when it comes to us being clients. Am I lying? Most of us still have the same struggles. Most of us are still on our journeys. Most of us are still trying to battle eating the freaking Skittles at 10 p.m. at night. Most of us, am I lying? That's still a thing. And so the best thing that we can do is coach. Now, if you want to have a really impressive business, then you take the next step. So now you're coaching, you're training, you're leading others, you're guiding them to their life books, so on and so forth, right? Hasn't that forced you to do things that you wouldn't naturally do just as a client? So now that you're a coach, you want to take that next step and you want to start training on this stuff now, so you know it at an even deeper level. So that's what those guys were doing last week. And I'm sitting here in Maui, 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm watching them kill it. And I'm so proud of those guys. You know, James and Sabrina May came on, Carol Ann killed it, and Priscilla Allen and Annika jumped on. Kevin did an amazing job. It's just amazing. I think that we're so fortunate to have the people that we have, because as um, as all of us get better, and as we force that tide to rise, where all of our ships are on that tide, right? So if we're all rising up and that tide is rising, what do you think is happening at everybody's ships? That's how I know 12 months from now, if you keep doing the principles that we're talking about now, I guarantee you, you will not be in the same spot. Isn't that amazing? That's one of the things. I'm getting chills right now, you guys, because that's one of the things that I love about coaching is you can always, like, it always gives you hope for a better future. Because you're like, man, if I just keep going, if I keep pressing, and if I can I'm almost able to tell where I'll be 12 months from now, 24 months from now, 36 months from now, 48 months from now, because I got all this evidence and people that are around me. And I just got to look and say, okay, well, shoot, man, like, I'm like 12 months away from this thing. That's what I used to do. Here's the secret. I used to do this because I was so, and you know, maybe it's just going to be story time. I got all this stuff written out, but okay, I'm gonna tell you guys some for real stuff, okay? And then we'll get into it. So I remember years ago, any of you guys having struggles, put a three in the chat if you've ever had any struggles. You struggle in anything? I don't care what that is. Could be your healthy finances, could be your weight, it could be your mindset, it could be your marriage right now, it could be your relationship, it could be you're trying to figure out how to really cope with your new boss. It could be a coworker that's driving you insane. Do you have any struggles at all, Marquita? I just want to know. So what I used to do is I used to do this, and I still do this sometimes. It's just I don't really run into the same problems anymore. But but Sheila, back in the day, what I would do is if I was faced with something, and back then it was mostly my marriage, because as you guys know, it was my marriage was falling apart. And I would say, okay, look, man, this thing is really bugging me right now, but I know that in a year, I should be here. Like my business is going to be here. We're going to be supporting this amount of people. I'm going to be bringing in about this amount of income, and I'm going to be about this type of person. Listen to the last part. I'm going to be, because I know in order to do those things, I'm going to need to become a new person, right? So I'm going to be about this type of person. because a person that has these things that we're striving to have, you're not going to be the same. And we have to grow into that person. So I would say, okay, well, I should be there in about 12 months. And 12 months from now, if I look back at where I'm at right now, would that even be affecting me? Would that even be bugging me? Would that same problem even be affecting me? And I would say, no, dude, like 12 months from now, that's not going to be an issue for me because I'm going to be so far over here. And then I'll say, well, if that's not going to be an issue for me in 12 months, what am I bugging about it now for? And so that's how I would get through all of this stuff, whether it was a financial problem, whether it was a marital problem, whether it was a healthy body problem, something like that. I would say, no big deal. Because in 12 months, I'm not even going to be in this situation. So why even stress over it right now? I remember, true story. I don't even know why I'm telling you guys this because it had nothing to do with what we're doing right now. But I just want to show you the power in what you have. So this was a training series that literally was going to take us from where we're at, and all of our goals at the beginning was to reach executive director, right? Was that all of, we all talked about our goals to begin this thing, right? And we said we're not going to jump into this thing unless we had an expectation of reaching executive director. Now, some of us have not done that. I'm going to talk about why that's not a big deal, because it is going to happen. What we needed to do was condition your mindset first that that is what's going to happen. That's the most important thing. So let me tell you. So I'm about 10 months into coaching. And back then, they had this training called Go Global. So many of you guys are new, you don't know about Go Global. But back then, they would have a training for executive directors and above. Now, what they've done is they merged that training into Go Global and our incentive trip. So that's called our ILAC trips. You guys know about that, right? So last year was the cruise. This year, it's the trip that's going to be in the Bahamas. Well, that trip is for executive directors and above. So, Go Global, actually, I'm lying. Go Global, yeah, Go Global's for executive directors and above. Well, my first Go Global, I just so happened to be global director. And so I went there, and I'm still so new. I have milk behind my ears. My mom would say, "You still wet behind your ears, boy." And I'm so new. I don't even have a hotel room. So I asked two coaches if I could, bunk up and room up with them. One of the coaches was a really successful coach, and she had this huge suite. I'd never been in a suite this big. The suite had like three different segments of the suite. Now, I've never been in a suite like this. This is my first time, so I sort of took the front half. And then there was a coach in there, and she had been coaching for quite some time, maybe about 7 years. And she was one of those coaches, sort of was a little brash and little out there. And so she started saying basically how much she was blessed to be earning. And I remember being really shocked by what she was saying. And she was saying that I think she was earning, I don't even know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because we're all family. She was earning about $24,000 a month. And I remember texting my wife. I was maybe about 9, 10 months as a coach. And I told my wife, I said, I remember texting her, I said, Amanda, if I'm coaching, for 7 or 8 years, and all we're earning is $24,000 a month, I want you to punch me in the face. And I was completely serious. And it's not that that's bad, right? Obviously, oh my gosh, that puts you in the top 1% of income earners in the world. It's not that it's bad. It's just that we sort of know what's possible with Optavia, right? I mean, it's like if I was to tell you, um, in 7 or 8 years, I lost 10 pounds on program. And in your mind, you're like, seven, that's like a week on our program, isn't it? Like, isn't it really? Like, at most 4 weeks, right? I mean, if a client came to you was like, "Oh, my first month on program, I dropped 10 pounds," would you be surprised? Would anyone on this line be surprised? If a client came to you in their first week and they're like, "Oh, I dropped 6 pounds," would you be surprised? I mean, so it's just that I started to understand what we have. And what we have, if you're working this thing like for real for 6 or 7 years, I I understand what we have. Just like if a client's really working this thing for 3, 4, 5 months, then I know they're probably gonna meet some really, really crazy goals. So I don't even know why I told you guys that story. I'm sure there was a reason behind it, but stories from Jamel. So let's just kind of recap what we have done. I want to congratulate every single person that's on this line because we have been getting up early all month long. And some of you guys were getting up early the month before this. And so I want to congratulate you because, that's really special. And 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 hopefully about 10 minutes before we got on, I know Steve. I sat here for about 5 to 8 minutes, and I was just in quiet time, and I was just asking that whatever you guys came to the series looking for, that you got. And so that's my one hope, and that's my one goal. Let me talk about executive director. Today is our last day of the month, but it doesn't mean it's our last day to really start chasing down our goals. The most important thing about this whole series was that we are here together and that we really get used to um, chasing and creating the things that we want to do and that are really important to us. And I'll talk about that a little bit today, hopefully, if I ever get to it. But it's my intentions to talk about that, really striving for one, creating, setting your intentions on what you want to do, and then putting a game plan together, and then every single day working towards that goal. And so it's not about reaching executive director in 30 days. Please understand that. And in fact, write that down. It's not about reaching executive director in 30 days. It's not about reaching global director in a certain amount of time. It's not about none of that stuff. What it's about is the journey. It's always about that. It is about who were you September 1st and who are you now? That's what it's always about. It's about what are the things that you wouldn't do September 1st, and what are the things that you're doing now? That's what it's about. It's about who have you become in the last 30 days. Have any of you guys grown at all? Have any of you guys faced some fears? Have you done anything this month that you wouldn't even have dared doing last month? And if the answer is yes, then you have won. In fact, if that answer is yes, go on and pat yourself on the back. If that answer is yes, then you're winning the race of life. If that answer is yes, you have now become a unicorn. If that answer is yes, you are just about different than almost everyone out there in the world. If that answer is yes, all you got to keep doing is forcing yourself to do uncomfortable things. And if you do that, then executive director will just be one of the many incredible things you will accomplish now to the time good Lord calls you home. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about doing things that you're afraid to do. It's about becoming someone that I wrote a post on my Facebook today. Maybe I'll read it. Maybe I'll read it to you because this is what this whole thing is about. Okay, here's the post. I just put it up about an hour ago. It's a picture of me basically at 218 pounds. Wow, that's crazy for me. So it says 2011, I was pushing 218 pounds, which is so surreal for me these days. I had obstructive sleep apnea, high blood pressure, a terrible attitude, and a negative outlook on life, and low self confidence to go along with it. Although I put on an amazing facade that would make you think differently. A few months later, I found the program that I now coach so passionately for, and that helped me get back to the weight I was in high school, and more importantly, helped me get my life back. Here it is. Losing the weight was actually really easy. What wasn't easy is what I needed to consistently give up in order to do that. In fact, shortly after deciding to turn my profession into running a business as a certified coach, earning extremely healthy finances was really easy to do. What wasn't easy was what I needed to consistently give up in order to do that. In the process of all of that, saving my marriage was easy to do. What wasn't easy is what I needed to consistently give up in order to save it. I found reaching any goal is easy to do. Question is, what are you willing to consistently give up? Most want something for nothing. I talk to people every single day who want something, but also want to keep doing what they are doing. How silly is that? My encouragement to you is attack your dreams and goals, but do not be naive or delusional. If you want consistent change, you will have to consistently change. That's what this whole month was about. This whole month was about forcing yourself to do things that are not easy for you to do. And as you do that, I used to do this thing a long time ago. Oh my gosh, it just came back to me. If you guys do this, just sort of, maybe I'll just demonstrate it for you. If you want to follow along, you can too. When you start coaching, you are about that big. Can you see that hole? This is about how big, but Stephen Wade was even smaller than that. Stephen was like, he was like this. Steve was tiny, right? This hole represents the person that you are when you start coaching. Okay? This hole represents your fears, your limitations, your mindset, your your scarcity, your abundance meter. This represents Judy. This represents Jamil. This represents Denise. It represents all of us. Okay. The problem is you're a small person. So how many people can you actually fit into this hole? Not very many, right? Now, do you know how growth happens? How do you grow anything? We got any we got any people that lift weights on here? Too bad Reagan's not on here. Any of you guys go to the gym? You push the boundaries. Oh, look at you, Judy. Yes. How do you grow anything? You stretch it. You push it past its capacity. If you want to grow a muscle right now, guess what you have to do? You're going to have to break that muscle. You're going to have to rip it. You're going to have to stretch it past its normal capacity. How do you grow a human being? If women, if you ever have gotten pregnant, didn't your belly start at one size and at the end of the pregnancy it ended up a different size? How'd that happen? Did it stretch? Was it uncomfortable? Did it rip some things? Growth is always the same. Chapter in my book called Growth Equals Pain. This is why most people won't even do a series like we just did, or they'll do the series, but they won't actually do the work. Why? Because it's going to force you to be uncomfortable. This is the only way you grow. So if you come into coaching and you're this small, you can only help about this amount of people, right? And then what we do is we are going to put you into this crazy scenario to where we're going to ask you every single day to grow, to do things that are uncomfortable. I'm going to talk about that today if I ever get into the subject that I spent all night right now. I just don't know if I'm going to get there. But eventually, we're going to talk about something called E plus R equals O. Events plus your response to those events is going to indicate and dictate your outcomes. Now, we got a lot of people that come in like this. This is why, by the way, what you're doing isn't a weight loss program. It's actually a leadership program that's disguised. Sometimes it's a weight loss program. But whether you're a client or you're a coach, you're going to come in very, very small. That's why you don't have that much success. That's why you were looking for a program like this. Whether you're a client or a coach, you're going to come in about this small. So if you come in this small, you can't really help that many people because you're this small. Every single day, we're going to ask you to do something that's scary or stretches you. We're going to ask you to do a Facebook Live. You're going to hate it. We're going to say, Judy, do it anyway. You'll be like, no, I don't want to do it. We're going to be like, do it. No, I don't want to do it. I mean, it's up to you, but how's that thought serving you? And we're going to keep telling you and forcing you and encouraging you to do things. Eventually, you're going to do it and you're going to realize there's no boogeyman. That, oh my gosh, I was so scared to do this. Or, oh my gosh, I thought I would die. Or, oh my gosh, I don't even have babysitters, but I still ran a training where I thought everything needed to look all nice and cozy. Remember when Sabrina May did the training and her son came in the morning? Do you know how many people would not have done that training because they knew that they had kids in the house? See what I'm saying? What are we forcing her to do? To become uncomfortable, to do things that are uncomfortable. Every day, in some sort of way, we're going to ask you to do something that you probably don't want to do, that your brain's going to tell you is hard to do or uncomfortable to do. And so what we're doing is we're forcing this little tiny person of you. Some of you guys, I remember at the beginning of the series, some people were like, well, I don't know if I'll be able to get on because that's in the prime hours of dropping off the kids. Okay, all I'm telling you is that's probably true. But all I'm saying, for you to get to where you want to be, we're going to have to grow this circle of a human being. Part of growing that circle is doing things that are uncomfortable. Lots of things. Whatever you feel is holding you back is the number one thing you got to do. I'm being honest with this group. So if we say, that's why I like doing these calls so early, because a lot of people don't like to wake up. If that's one of the things you don't like to do, what's the one area you think you're going to need to attack? Some of you guys don't like to read. What are we going to say? You got to start reading some books. You're going to be like, oh, I don't want to read the books. That's telling you that's the number one area you want to start focusing on. Whatever you don't want to do, that is telling you that's where you go to work. Because that is going to keep you like this. And if you stay like this, your business will stay like this. And if for some reason your business all of a sudden got bigger, it will shrink back down to this. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've never not seen it happen like this. Somehow you might all of a sudden get a whole bunch of clients or coaches or something, but you're still this sort of person. It will go like this, then it'll go right back. It's like winning the lottery. How many guys you heard stories of people winning the lottery and all of a sudden their bank accounts get really big? And then what happens in a couple months? Skirt. Why? They ain't learned the lessons. They haven't become a big enough type of person that understands what to do with all those millions. Success is a staircase. You have to break, you have to rip, you have to grow, you have to learn the lessons in order to keep it. Same thing with weight. We might lose some weight, right? Woo, great success, but we haven't changed our mindset. Woo, weight comes right back on. It's just how it is. So what we ask people to do is get uncomfortable. As you start to stretch and break and get bigger and learn the lessons and do the hard things and learn that there's no boogeyman, and you start manifesting, you start having tons of gratitude, you start actually thinking about the things that you want to create for your life, for your future, for your legacy. You wake up in the morning, you're focused on it, you go to bed at night, it's the last thing that you think about. Is every single thing that we talked about in this series. You stretch, you break, you grow, you develop, you do the hard things, you lead, you speak, you do all these things, and now all of a sudden you've become bigger. You've done all these scary things. You realize it ain't that big of a deal. You worked on your skill set. You developed your mindset. You stayed in consistent action. You didn't do what unsuccessful people do, which is freaking take breaks all the time, right? They work out of emotions, not out of structure. And because you do that, you get bigger. You start doing all these crazy things you didn't even know you had the God given ability to do. But this whole time, it's been part of your unique journey, but you never even come close to becoming that person because you didn't know how to stretch, you didn't know how to break, you wouldn't do uncomfortable things. But in this community, we ask you to do it every single day. And so now, even if you do it slowly, that's why it doesn't matter if it didn't take you 30 days to hit ED. It's about the stretching. That's about that journey. And eventually you will get here if you stay and don't quit like a lot of people do. That's why I said 12 months from now, if you keep doing this, I guarantee you, you're going to be helping more people. Your business is going to be bigger. Oh, by the way, you'll be earning more and you'll be a way better person because there's no way of doing all those things without actually developing. Does this make sense? This is just how it is. This is why I love what we do because it is personal development 101. You have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do. And half of them don't have nothing to do with actually talking to client. Most of the stuff has to do with you having scary conversations, probably with a spouse or a loved one that you haven't been wanting to have in a long time. It might be asking for help when you're the sort of person that never want to ask for help. You want to be Superman or Superwoman. It's going to tackle every single thing and it's going to highlight the things that you're scared to do. And then for us to move forward, it is going to ask you to go on and break those things to get uncomfortable so that you can grow so we could go save and serve more lives. This makes sense? So let's talk about where we have come from. And then we'll talk about where we are going. So I wanted to say that because I know human beings do this thing. You know what human beings do? Human beings do this thing to where they like to talk to themselves, but they don't talk to themselves very nicely. So there's some of you guys on this call, believe it or not, that you're beating yourself up a little bit. You're saying, man, I had all my intentions on hitting ED and I don't know if I'm going to do it, man. I'm not worth crap. Some of you guys are doing that. And what I'm telling you is it don't matter. It is about the journey. Do it next month. So what? You learned a whole bunch of stuff, didn't you? So do it next month. And then next month, when we look up, if you have done the work and you're growing and you're forcing yourself to get better and you're intentional about building your skill set, you're intentional about practicing mindfulness, you're intentional about getting into action, it does not matter. It's not a race. What does matter is you never again becoming comfortable. When what does matter is you saying, I'm going to become the sort of person that is okay with discomfort. I will just sit in it. I'm good. Bring it on. Okay. It's hard. So what? So what? That's what does matter. And then once you get that, I'm telling you, everything else is simple. I told you how easy this business was, didn't I? I said this. Didn't I say this like day two? Tell me if you remember this. You get close. Tell me if you remember this. Didn't I say how simple this business is? Is all you do is cut off the lights, sit in a room, close your eyes, get quiet, and say, who am I supposed to serve today? And out of nowhere, all these crazy names are going to come to you. And all you got to do is write those names down and go to those people and say, man, this is going to sound crazy. I know it's been 30 years, but I had this strong impression that we were supposed to connect today. How is everything going? Why were we supposed to connect today? What's going on in your life? Didn't I say that? Have you guys actually done that though? You will save hours throughout the day from taking 10 minutes to do that. I gave you all the secrets already. Question is, have you guys been listening? And more importantly, been practicing? Just do that. Do that today. Do that tonight. Just sit there. Say, hmm, wow. Who's on my path today? Who am I supposed to connect with? Who am I supposed to serve today? Use me. Allow me to be a vessel. I got this amazing story. Who's supposed to be impacted by it? Be quiet. Listen. Write the names down. Go reach out to those people. If we would have done that for 30 days, I'm telling you what would have happened. So now we just do it next month, right? Along with everything else. So what have we learned? Well, we started out talking about what do you want? You guys remember that? We talked about goal setting. We talked about your why. We talked about writing out your goals and looking at them every single day. You know, goals without a plan and consistent daily action, they're just a wish. They're just a wish. They just sound good. We talked about the most powerful thing that you have for a successful business is your story. You know, every single successful business in the history of the world all started out with a powerful story. You just so happen to be a business now. And just so happens that your story is the foundation of your business. The most powerful thing you have is your story. We spent 3 days just on telling your story. That's how important it is. We spent more time, sorry, the closet does this. We spent more time on how to utilize your story than anything else. That tells you how important it was. We talked about your 60 to 90-second story. We talked about your life story and how to chop that up on social media, didn't we? We talked about being authentic. We talked about if I go to your social media pages, do I know you? And more importantly, do I know how you can help me? Or does it just look like an infomercial that does nothing to my spirit or to my soul? We talked about who do we tell that story to? Again, every successful company They work off of a list. Are you daily working and influencing your list? Let me slow that down because that can easily be missed. I said, are you daily working your list? More importantly, here it is. Are you influencing your list? What do I mean by influencing? If those people on that list are not moving closer to being influenced, if they do not know your story, what oftentimes we do is we assume people know what we do. We assume people know our stories. We assume people know we've had a health transformation. We assume people know that we're a coach. We assume that people know to send people to us. We assume these things when we've never really directly gone to them and influenced them. We assume because we put up a before and after picture that people are actually being influenced. No, people are not influenced until you go to them directly. Does this make sense? So we work in a list, but more importantly, are we influencing that list? If that dial is not being moved and we are not guiding these people closer to sending us someone that needs us, then we're not influencing that list. We can get into this warped kind of facade that we're influencing the list. But if we're not actually moving that dial, and these folks are getting closer to sending people to us to serve, then we're not influencing the list. We talked about the health assessment, to fall in love with their story, to awaken their intrinsic motivation, and then to give direct solution to what their problems are. We talked about follow up. You guys remember that? So if they're not ready, what do? We talked about this. We talked about social media. We talked about having impeccable client support. Write this down. Client support is the lifeblood of your business. We want to amaze our clients so much that they feel compelled to send you people left and right. They feel compelled to follow this law. And that law is, if you treat me right, I will intrinsically feel the need to treat you right. You guys know that law? It's just a law how it works. If if I took you out to dinner right now and that dinner ran us $200 and I said, "You know what, Judy? I got it. Don't worry about it." You will naturally, without me even saying something, feel the need to do something nice for me. It's a law. So our clients follow that same law. So if we have impeccable client support, which goes along with client integration, then your clients will naturally want to do nice things for you. So we talked about impeccable client support. We talked about client integration. We talked about coach acquisition. Write this down. The stability of your business comes with coach acquisition. So if the lifeblood of your business is client support, coach acquisition brings the stability of your business. And what it also does is it is the one thing that is the accelerator of our mission. You know, I was writing this down last night. I was sitting sitting on the floor and I was like, okay, what do I want to talk about? And these things started coming to me. You know, the lifeblood of your business, the stability of your business, the accelerator of our mission. And then I just started thinking about the importance of these words. The stability of your business. This is the foundation. This is what allows you to have freedom. And it's what allows us to go touch and serve many, many more people. It is the accelerator of the mission. The mission um, is bigger than me, it's bigger than you, it's bigger than Dr. A. Eventually, all of us will die, but the mission continues. That's why I love what we do, because it's bigger than us. When I started this 7 years ago, I did not know basically anyone that's on the screen, just a couple people. And now, through all these crazy stories and filters, we got all these people that are in this organization, right? Eventually, I will die, but lives will continue to be impacted. Same thing with you guys. So, the way that we do that, the stability in that, and the accelerator of that mission, how do we speed that up to where more people are impacted? And how do we make it so that your business, if you decide to go to Hawaii for 2 weeks and you wanted to take some time off, how does your business continue to get bigger? We will have a record breaking month this month. How does that happen when you've decided to slow down for a couple weeks? It happens because you have acquired a lot of coaches. Does this make sense? This is where freedom comes in, not just for you, yes, for you, but more importantly, for many other people. Now, coach support is one of the most important. Let me tell you what I wrote down for coach support. So if coach acquisition is stability of our business and the accelerator of the mission, coach support, supporting those coaches, what we're doing now. What we're doing now. You guys feel what we're doing now? We're 49 minutes into this thing, but we've been doing this for years. So supporting those coaches is where we change the world. Just think about it. Go back to my little demonstration. I said we all started here, right? How positive can our world be with a whole bunch of small, tiny little people like this? But if we teach them, if we coach them, and we help them become bigger people with better philosophies, hello, hi, one by one, what do you think happens? See what I'm saying? So where we change the world and where we complete transformation, where complete transformation takes place. We are not a weight loss company, but a transformational leadership company. This is Dr. A's vision and mission, where the everyday individual gets back to being the dominant force of their own life. It just so happens that oftentimes it starts with getting our bodies in alignment, and then we can work on everything else while paying it forward. Let me read that again. I was sitting on my floor last night. Amanda comes in, she says, "What are you thinking? Or what are you doing?" I said, "Thinking about the coaches. I'm writing this." So, coach support will we change the world and where complete transformation takes place. We are not a weight loss company, but a transformational leadership company. Where, let me read that over. The lights mess me up. Where we can change the world and where complete transformation takes place. We are not a weight loss company, but a transformational leadership company. This is Dr. A's vision and mission, where the everyday individual gets back to being a dominant force of their own lives. It just so happens that oftentimes it starts with getting our bodies in alignments, and then we can work on everything else while paying it forward. If you open up his life book, in the first page there, off to the left, he gives you the credo. where he says, I remember the first time he gave us the life books, the Optavia One team, about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. And he gave it to the Optavia One team, and I opened it up to that first page. And we were in Sundance, Utah, getting ready for a leadership conference, but the O1 team came in about 3 days early. And we started working on basically 2019, 2020. We planned about a year out without to be in one team. And so anyway, I opened up the life book, and that was the line that was in there. And he talked about being a dominant force of your life. And what he's doing is he's talking about leadership, leadership, leadership. I look at myself, how did I get up to 218 pounds? Was I, what was going on? What weight was there? And I'm not talking about physical weight. I'm talking about mental weight. And was I being the dominant force of my own life? Was I being a leader? I think about what my goals and my expectations were before I started coaching, and how I was okay with just settling in life. Remember I told you guys to to uh to make your annual incomes, your monthly incomes. Remember that? Marquita, you remember that? So I couldn't even picture half the stuff I can picture now, because why? Remember that? And throughout all these years, what we've done is we've transformed. So, real fast, which this isn't a real fast subject, but I was thinking, how do I want to end this? And this is how I want to end it. I want to end it with one of the most important philosophies and principles for leadership and guidance and success that I've ever have heard and learned in my life. And I learned it through a video I shared with you guys. I had this group watch a video called Success Principles by Jack Canfield. You guys remember that? So what I'm trying to say is we've given this group all the answers. It's just that we have to hear them over and over and over and over again, because we're constantly growing and evolving. And half the time we're just trying to keep up, and it's like been hitting in the face with a fire hose half the time. So we have to hear this stuff over and over again. So years ago, Jack taught me a formula. I remember sitting in our condo at that time, 700 square foot condo. And I was there, and I was feeding Ezra. He's about maybe 2 years old. And this formula came on, and it was E plus R equals O. And it was the first time that I got it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So what the E are the events that happen in our lives. The events that happen in our lives. And all of us have events. Have you guys ever had something crazy happen to you? Put a put a 4 in the chat. Have you ever just had something crazy? Have you ever had a, a hangnail? Have you ever had a death in the family? Have you ever had someone cut you off on a freeway? Has your house ever flooded? Have you ever gotten into an accident of some sort? Have you ever just gotten some really bad news? Have you ever been in a football game, a freaking bowling match, something just crazy happened? I don't even know. So these things are called events. Now, the amazing thing about events is they happen to all of us. So I used to think events only happen to people like me, people who grew up on welfare, people who were black, people who were young, even when I started here. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be successful here because I'm only 30 years old. And like my coaches are so successful because they're older, they're in their 60s, and their friends are on like medications and stuff. Ugh. You know, have you ever had someone push out their order? Have you ever gotten an email that says your client canceled their premier order? Have you ever sponsored a coach and man, they were so excited. Then a week into it, you couldn't find them anymore. You're like, what happened? I thought we were good. Like they just disappeared. Have you ever? Those are events, man. Events happen to everyone. The other day, we were eating at a restaurant outside. Beautiful. I mean, oh, it was majestic. 10 minutes later, it was pouring with rain. That's an event. What can you do about it? That's the question. Answer is nothing. It's happened. It, it's just life. That's what life is. It's a series of events. Most of them you can't even do anything about. You open up the refrigerator door and a carton of milk falls out. Frustrating as heck, but it happens. It's just how it is. Some of you guys can be driving to work today. You're going to get a flat tire. You're going to be late. Just how it is. It's called life. Happens to everyone. I didn't know it used to happen to everyone. I just thought it happened to Jamil. And I used to let the events of life dictate the quality of my life until I heard this formula or a dozen eggs. So the R is your response to these events. Now, this is the most important thing. Your response to these events. Did you know you had choice? You can choose to respond any sort of way that you want. Do you know that the same thing could happen to you that happened to someone else? And you go into a 2-year depression and the other person is happy? How's that possible? How's that possible? Same event, completely different outcomes. Do you know that a coach can have the same scenario as you and you get stuck and you decide you can't do it, and you decide to pull back and you decide to quit? And they take that same thing and turn it into an integrated presidential business. How's that possible? You have 5 kids, they have 5 kids. You don't have any time, they don't have any time. Your house flooded with water, their house flooded with water. Their spouse doesn't support them, your spouse doesn't support you. And yet you don't do much with your business, they become integrated presidential directors. How's that possible? It's possible because it does not matter what the events are. It only matters how you choose to respond to it. Your child gets sick, their child gets sick. You don't acquire any clients or coaches that week, they acquire 10 clients and 5 coaches that week. How's that possible? Same sickness. It's possible because of your response. You said, oh my gosh, my child got sick this week. This means I don't do anything with my business. They said, oh my gosh, my child got sick this week. This means I can do everything with my business. I have more time. I get to stay at home. I get to feed them soup. I get to give them hot tea. I have a lot more time on my hands. I don't actually have to be at work. You say, oh my gosh, I have to stay at home. I don't have that much time. Same event, two completely different ways of looking at it. And thus we have the O, outcomes, two completely different outcomes. This is how life and success happens. By the way, I got up this morning at 2 a.m., didn't I? Now, another coach could say, well, I'm in Hawaii, I'm on vacation, I'm not going to get on that training. because it's 2 a.m. Now, another coach says, oh my gosh, it's 2 a.m. I'm in Hawaii, I'm on vacation, but I'm getting on the call. That's their response in over 7 years of having responses like that. What do you think their outcomes are going to be? Do you know I have seen so many coaches have the same events and one becomes highly successful and the other is still in the same place that they were in 5 years ago? How's it possible? Do you know, uh, man, there's so many examples. So we have an incredible opportunity. Man, I wanted to tell you some stories too. I had some beautiful slides and everything. Maybe I'll just share. Maybe I'll just share one with you guys. I know I'm over. I know I'm over. If Nicole's on, don't kill me, Nicole. I know I'm over. I know I'm over. I know you got to go to work. But I put together just some beautiful slides. I'll feel remiss and remorse if I didn't actually get into some of them. Let me make this thing smaller. Okay. So here's the thing. Write this thing down. So the beauty in life is to have this mentality. Remember, for you to be an extremely successful coach, you will need to get better in 3 areas. One is your skill sets. We've worked so much on how you can improve your skills. The other area is your mindset. This is where E plus R equals O comes in. You will now have a mindset of this. Nothing in my life is happening to me. It is all happening for me. This is the mindset of a winner. There's 2 mindsets that are out there, you guys. There's a mindset of a victim, and there's a mindset of a victor. The mindset of a victim says, oh my gosh, this sucks. This is happening to me. This is what a lot of coaches do. Somebody doesn't get back to your message as fast as you want. Oh my gosh, this is happening to me. They're not getting back to me. And that is your reason to do less. Now, Victor has a mindset of this is happening for me. Every single thing that happens in my life is happening for me to get stronger. Write that down. I'm straight up telling you. This is the mindset of someone who is a winner. And I don't care what the event is. It can be you're walking. You God forbid you take a tumble, you fall down the stairs. You break your ankle. Okay? A victim is going to say, oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? A victor is going to say, I'm so thankful this happened because this is happening for me. How am I going to get stronger from this? How am I going to become more? How am I going to do more? How am I going to serve more? How am I going to earn more? What am I supposed to learn from this event? Do you see the difference? This is a big time difference. And I don't care what the event is. There's going to be some very hard events, a death in the family. That is a hard event. That's a much different event than milk spilling out of the refrigerator. You agree? But it is still an event. That's something that's a happening. Now the R is your choice. It's choice time. You can choose. That's what makes you the highest living creature on earth ever that we know about. Is you have choice. You can choose how you want to respond to said event. You can look at it as this is happening to me, or you can look at it as this is happening for me. It all comes down to you. and you are going to get an outcome from how you choose to respond to that. Now, the R is a choice. So I agree, there's some really strong, hard events, and there's some other events that we can get over. We can get over a hangnail, right? No big deal. We can get over in coaching, you have some big events, you have some small events. Sometimes you're going to be working with a client for 4 months, and all of a sudden, that client, something's going to happen. Maybe they get pissed at you, and then they decide to stop returning your calls or something. That's going to be an event that's going to sting a little bit, but you have a choice. How do you want to look at that? Is that happening to you, or is that happening for you? Is that strengthening you up a little bit more to take on your next 25, 30 clients? See what I'm saying? Is that maybe someone's way of saying, all right, it's time for you to move to the next level of life and success. And in order to do that, we got to toughen you up just a little bit more so that you can handle what I have in store for you. And if you cannot prove that you can handle this, guess what? I'm not going to give you more responsibility. So if you crumble and you start crying about it, and you're always saying, why is this happening to me? This sucks. Then I'm not going to bestow onto you more ability to have success. But if you say, oh my gosh, as crazy as this may sound, this is a good thing. What am I supposed to learn from this? How am I supposed to grow from this? How am I supposed to impact more people because of this? Then you will be wildly successful. E plus R equals O. Now, I went through, and I'm not going to be able to get through these stories, but I went through and I picked out some incredible stories of some crazy events that's happened to some people you know, starting with Amanda and me. I wish I can get into these, starting with Emily Flores. She was the first one that taught me that moms could be extremely successful in this business. Because what moms do is some of them will use their kids as an excuse, and some of them will use their kids as the reason why they go touch more lives. So before Emily, I was running into a lot of moms who use their kids as an excuse. She was the first one that I ran into that used her kids as inspiration. Same events, same happenings, completely different responses. She used to bring her kids everywhere. I mean, she would have Chico, the oldest one, strapped on her back to where another mom would say, I couldn't go to that meeting because I have my kid. Emily will say, I'm going to that meeting because I have my kid. Does this make sense? Same event, two completely different responses. And now years later, we have completely different outcomes. Dr. A had a big event happen in his life. A year ago, he lost his wife, Lori, right? His responses to that event is to go even harder, not pull back. He was not even halfway finished with our transformational system, the life book that we all have. We weren't even completely done with finishing the brand of Optavia. We had not even launched into international. And once Lori passed, what is an event? His response was, the mission becomes even bigger now. I mean, there's so many of these, it's not even funny. Chantel is one of my favorites. She has 5 kids and is an integrated presidential director. In fact, within about 10 square miles of her are 5 other integrated presidential directors. I think 3 of them go to the same church. You know, when it comes to this, oh my gosh, March Madness. So anyway, I think we get the point. So E plus R equals O. It's not what happens to us. What happens, happens to just about all of us. We all agree, we all got stuff. The difference is, what do we do with that? Do we become victors with that stuff, or do we become victims? What I can tell you is no one really vict part of leadership is becoming victors. And as you become a victor, you attract more victors. Now, the opposite is true as well. When we become victims, guess what we tend to attract? Like attracts like, dislike attracts dislike. Have you ever heard birds of a feather flock together? So in our businesses, we all have the ability to become world-class leaders. And in our business, it just happens to take a step format. Brand new coach, blended executive director, FIBC, FIBL. So I hope this series was helpful for you guys. I have enjoyed it. I can't wait to do the next one, and I can't wait to see how you guys continue to progress. Part of leadership is having the most important type of motivation. You can have external motivation, which we hopefully have been doing every morning and getting you started off on a great foot. The most important motivation is what we're trying to do as part of the mission, which is to have people be the dominant force of their own life, whether it's a client or a coach. And part of being a dominant force of your own life is for you to wake up every single morning, look yourself in the mirror and say, it's go time. And you give yourself what we call intrinsic motivation. That is the most important motivation. When you look inside yourself and you don't need nobody to pump you up, you pump yourself up. You say, it's time to go. I'm about to go help some people. People are about to be radically transformed because of me today. And I am going to reach all these goals that I've set before myself. Does this make sense? Love you guys. Went over a little bit today, but I haven't seen you in a week or so. So of course I need to take an extra, 15 minutes, Sandy. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your day. Close out strong. I have helped people acquire 7 clients and bring on a handful of coaches in one day. So I told you how simple it is. Sit back and say, who am I supposed to serve today? Have a great day, you guys.